presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and powered by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Welcome to the podcast, where former San Antonio police officer, author, and pastor Tim Rupp walks you through real-life scenarios involving our police officers and digs into the depths of facts and opinions on each case. This is Cop Talk, and it starts now.
Hello and welcome to the Strong Blue Line's Cop Talk. I'm Tim Rupp in beautiful western Arkansas once again, still down here in the wintertime, and on air in the Idaho Falls is our operations manager, Gary Austin. Hello, Gary.
Hey, Tim Rupp. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice too, and here we are again.
Yep.
You are in studio, in our main studio. I'm in the southern studio, if you will.
Yeah, a few more weeks anyway, huh? Or a little bit. Another month?
Almost there. Here we are in the already smack dab in the middle of March.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like just yesterday we were thinking about voting and who we're going to vote for as president. And now Christmas is gone and the New Year's gone and the president's been here for a couple months. And oh, my goodness. We're just moving right along, Gary.
We sure are. It's hard to fathom that, sometimes, but time just seems to be going by.
You know, whether people voted for President Trump or not, one convicting thing about President Trump is he's not a lazy man.
No.
And he's older than the vast majority of all Americans.
That's right.
And he's still working. My goodness!
And he only needs a few hours of sleep. That guy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah,
he would run me into the ground. And he's old. He's much older than I am.
Yeah,
Anyways,
me as well.
Hey, well, it's good to be here on Strong Blue Line's Cop Talk, and here we are. We've done most of our seminars already, but still going in this month. We're going to be in Slidell, Montana. Where did I get Montana from? We're going to be in Slidell, Louisiana at the end of the month. We're going to be in Pearl River, Louisiana, and then we're heading over to New Mexico and then back home. So,
very cool.
We're on the bottom end of this. We'll be home in about 2.5, 3 weeks or so, something like that. I'm not looking at the calendar right now, but it's just been a couple more weeks. We'll be back home, and we're hoping everything will be thawed out there for the most part by the time we get there.
I think it will. Yeah, I think it will. I'm so glad you and Sherry have been safe and have had some pretty successful seminars and things, so that's good. But looking forward to you being back home too. Well,
good. We're both looking forward to being back as well, So that's good. We're excited about that. Hey, so we're going to talk about, last time we ran out of time, we want to talk about the death penalty. So I want to talk about that today. But before we do that, obviously we're going to honor the officers who have been killed in the line of duty on this date in history. Let me see if I thought I brought up my thing here and I didn't bring it up.
That's okay. We're human.
I may have closed this. Oh, there it is. It's hidden behind the other screen. Boy, this technology. That's why I do things on paper, Gary.
Right.
But I've got everything on computer here now. Okay, so March 12th. I said earlier, I said March 19th, didn't I?
You did. Yeah,
that's
it is.
Next week. I don't know what I'm thinking. March 12th. It's still the middle of March.
Yes.
Okay, March 12th. I'm sorry. In case people went through a time warp, we are still at March 12th. So, Deputy Sheriff James Wood from the Ouachita Sheriff's Office in Louisiana. You know, that's close to where, matter of fact, when I taught down in Ruston, Louisiana, we had a couple of sheriff's deputies from Ouachita Sheriff's Office.
Oh, wow.
Let me do that.
Oh.
Ouachita, parish. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. Deputy Sheriff James Wood sought to serve a warrant on a man wanted for attempted murder. He went to the suspect's property to serve the warrant and met him at the gate. As he read the warrant to the man suddenly raised his gun and shot Deputy Wood in the arm and chest. The suspect then fled a short distance down the road before committing suicide with a knife. Wow. Deputy Wood was able to make it to the suspect's home, where he died approximately 30 minutes later. Deputy Wood served with the Ouachita Sheriff's Office for only 2 weeks. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And we don't know how old he was, don't know anything about his family, but just 2 weeks and went to serve a warrant. So, back in the day, especially deputies, they were like, raise your hand. Okay, you're a deputy.
You're a deputy.
Yeah. Man, go serve this warrant, and okay, I got to go arrest somebody for a murder warrant.
Yeah.
And he goes by himself and he just, let me read you this warrant. But, and the guy shot him, and then he went and he stabbed himself. Now, you may be thinking, well, what did he do this for? But maybe he had an old ball and cap gun. He just had, he ran out of rounds. But to commit suicide with a knife, that's pretty intense that you want to kill yourself.
It sure is. I mean, that is horrible. Any death by suicide is horrible, but wow.
Yeah, and you wonder again. What's going through this guy's mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to be arrested for murder because I may be hanged or go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll shoot this guy, then I'll kill myself.
Yeah. Shoot the guy and not even use the gun on yourself, but.
Yeah, shoot yourself first, and then I don't know. It's crazy, but people with suicide tendencies, they're not thinking right, Gary.
No, they're not.
And I've had friends on the police department, too many, that have committed suicide, and it's just we've talked about suicide before, the loss of hope.
Yes.
That leads to that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Deputy Sheriff James Wood, March 12th, 1869. What do you have, Gary?
So this is Detective Sergeant Mason Griffith from the Herman Police Department in Missouri. End of watch Sunday, March 12th, 2023. So a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Sergeant Griffith and another officer responded to a disturbance at a convenience store. And when the officers arrived, a shootout occurred with a suspect. So the subject shot both officers and then fled the scene. But he has a very long history of criminal charges with multiple outstanding felony warrants. And additionally, there is a warrant for his arrest for not showing up to court back in 2022. So this guy barricaded himself in a home near the shooting, and he was taken into custody the next day by the SWAT team, the Missouri Highway Patrol SWAT team. And he actually said that he wanted to commit suicide by cop. So that's pretty common, I think, isn't it? I mean, well, not common, but people in that.
It really is kind of common, Gary, because a lot of they give up, they want to do anything, but they don't have whatever it is takes to shoot themselves and kill themselves. So they try to force an officer's hand to shoot them. And a lot of guys, well, I'm not saying a lot, but some of them will present even an empty gun to the officers. Of course, the officer doesn't know that.
Right.
And but sometimes they go ahead and shoot at the officers and hit and kill the officers.
It's very sad. So the subject was charged with murder, first degree, assault, first degree, serious physical injury or special victim, 2 counts of armed criminal action, and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. Sergeant Griffith succumbed to his injuries at a hospital, and the other officer did survive, which is good. But Sergeant Mason, he served with the Herman Police Department for over 12 years. He was the part-time chief of police of the Rosebud Police Department and reserve deputy sheriff of the Gasconade County Sheriff's Office. Survived by his wife, 2 sons, mother, and father. He was 34 years old.
34 years old. He's serving on 3 different agencies at one time, Gary.
Yeah, 12 years he served, so he was like 22.
Yeah.
Just as young as you.
Yeah, yeah. Got on. Well, man.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. That's a terrible thing again when officers are killed in the line of duty, but we want to remember the officers and honor those who were killed.
We sure do.
Over 26,000 American law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty.
Is that right?
Yeah, since the first one was in 1791. The first one that we know of.
Yeah, that they started tracking.
When they started tracking, and the ones that we know of. So 1791 was the first officer killed in the line of duty. Okay, so Sid, we're going to talk about the death penalty. So what brought this to light is a case in the Bronx, New York City, in the Bronx, and this happened last month. On the report came out on February the 11th. So, but anyways, this comes from New York City, of course, the Bronx, New York. A dispute over a parking lot led to a father of 4 being shot and killed, with his girlfriend getting what police describe as badly beaten. The incident occurred just before 2 a.m. Sunday morning. So this was late Saturday night, if you will, early Sunday morning, when 49-year-old Trevor Hughes and 46-year-old convicted felon LeVar Davis began to argue. According to the reports, Davis parked his car in a way that was blocking a spot that Hughes paid a neighbor to park in regularly, as it was located outside of Hughes's house. Now, Gary, this is something that you and I aren't used to.
Yeah, right.
Could you imagine that you're renting a place, or you own a home? I'm not sure if he's renting a home or he's owning a home, but he's living in a house, and he's got to rent a parking place to park his car in front of his house. So he rents the parking place, and I don't know if he's living in a house and he's renting one of the rooms, and then he says, "Hey, I want the parking lot as well, so I'll pay extra for that." I'm not sure what was going on, but he had a driveway that he was to park in, and he came home, 2:00 in the morning, and somebody was parked in front of it. So let's go on here. Prosecutors revealed Monday morning that Davis initially fled. Oh, I skipped ahead here. The incident occurred before 2:00 Sunday morning when he came home and he parked. Okay, according to the reports, Davis parked his car in a way blocking Hughes, that he paid the neighbor. Okay, prosecutor revealed Monday morning that Davis initially fled the scene of the crime. Police were able to track him down and arrest him later at his girlfriend's house. At Davis's arraignment, Bronx Assistant District Attorney Lawrence Rosenblum said when police officers went to find the defendant there, he barricaded himself in the apartment and refused to come out voluntarily, requiring the police to send in the emergency service unit to get him. So the emergency service units, that's pretty much a SWAT team.
Yeah,
they have different names for them in different agencies. Davis previously served over 24 years in prison for murder. So the suspect here had served 24 years in prison. He's only 46 years old.
Man. So he was just young when he went to prison.
He's been in prison his whole adult life.
Yes. Huh.
And he was in prison for murder. So he was released from the correctional facility in 2019. And then he was on lifetime parole at the time of the incident. He was also separately sentenced to an assault in the first degree and received a concurrent sentence of between 10 to 20 years. And so he was in prison for murder and for first degree assault. So he was serving both of them terms. And I was looking at another one. I don't think it says it here in this one. But I was looking at another report, and it may say it further on down. But he was released, and within a year, he was back in jail for another crime. And then he was released again in September of last year, and then just a few months later, he murders a guy.
Man,
it's crazy what's going on.
It really is, and some people just can't ever be fixed, I guess, or rehabilitated.
Yeah. They can't be a productive member of society.
No,
for whatever reason. Anyway, so it says there were no parking signs affixed to the front. So he says, well, that's why there were. But you can't park in front of a private driveway, Gary.
Right.
And if you're a driver, you should know that if you've taken a driver test. You can't park them. You don't have to, in front of your driveway, in front of my driveway at home, I don't have to put up a no parking sign. You don't park in front of a private drive. It's against the law. So what had happened with this, he called the police, and the police came out and wrote a ticket and put it on the car and then left. And then, because the police didn't tow the car, he went to a nightclub. Hughes went to a nightclub and said, hey, somebody's got this car parked in front of my place. And he went back and waited. And that's when Davis came out of the nightclub. Davis and his girlfriend came out of the nightclub.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a short argument. It was all on video camera. Some neighbor put it on, had it all on video camera. There was a short argument, and he pulled out a gun and shot Hughes and killed him. And then Davis's girlfriend beat up Hughes's girlfriend. I mean, broke her face and stuff. And then they fled, and they ended up getting arrested. And then where all this is going to, they interviewed Hughes's brother. And so they were talking to him. And his brother, if you look down that paragraph, says his brother spoke to the Post and said that Hughes was loved and a valued member of the community. He helped everyone in the area who needed his help, he said. He was always with a smile. His thing was always respecting the community. Then he says this, do you know what's happening here in New York, that the working class are being murdered by criminals, and that's not fair for the people at work. I hope that Trump can look at what's happening in New York and bring the death penalty here. So his brother, the brother of the victim, says, man, this isn't fair. This guy was in prison for murder. He gets out. Within a couple of years, he commits murder again. If he would have never been let out for a life sentence, his brother would have never been murdered.
Exactly. Yep.
And he goes a step further. He says, I hope the president can bring back the death penalty. Well, the president doesn't have authority over state law. So each state law, there are state laws, and each state determines whether they're going to have the death penalty or not. Mm-hmm. And New York is one of the states that has done away with the death penalty. There's the federal. If he committed a federal crime, then he could, if it was a federal capital offense, then the death penalty would come into play. Mm-hmm. So President Trump or any other president is not going to be able to force a state to have a death penalty. That's for each individual state to do. But the only way the state's going to change it, one way or the other, is through elected officials. Mm-hmm. So if you elect your officials that are pro-death penalty, then it's more likely that they're going to bring that back to the state if the state's done away with it. So this brings up the question, Gary, is the death penalty the right thing to do? Is it the Christian thing to do? Is it biblically right? Or is it wrong to have a death penalty? And the reason why this comes into question, there's several reasons why this comes into question. And one of the big things is the sixth commandment that says, thou shalt not kill. Now that's the Old King James interpretation, or the Old King James translation from the Hebrew is, thou shalt not kill. So a lot of people mistakenly believe that, to think that any killing whatsoever of a human being is wrong and unjustified. But that's not what the Bible teaches. In fact, the Bible teaches throughout that defense of yourself or defense of the innocent of another person, it's justified. And that the sixth commandment is more accurately translated, you shall not murder. And so there's a difference between killing somebody and murdering somebody. Now, a lot of people, and what the terminology that we use today, when one person takes the life of another person, that's referred to as a homicide. So a homicide is one person kills another person. So it could be a justifiable homicide, or it could be a not justified homicide. And we call that murder. For example, if I get mad at you, Gary, pull out my gun and shoot you, that's a homicide. One human being killed another person. I had no justification to do that, so that would be murder. Okay. And it could be, first-degree murder. It could be premeditated murder. It could be voluntary manslaughter. But it's a crime. It's an offense. It's not right. Mm-hmm. So I could be, arrested, go to trial, go to prison, get hanged, or whatever it is. Well, you won't get hanged, but I'd have the death penalty or whatever it is. That's murder. But if you come at me with a gun and start shooting at me or whatever, and I pull out my gun and shoot you, that's still a homicide. But now I'll claim self-defense. Oh. So it's not murder, it's self-defense, and that could be a justified homicide. Mm-hmm. So the question is, though, is it right for a government to have capital punishment, to put somebody to death? And where did that come from? Well, all moral law comes from God. Mm-hmm. That's where all moral law comes from. And in fact, that's why God said, you shall not murder. Right. I mean, every society everywhere knows that is the truth. Whether they believe the Bible or not, every society says it's wrong to kill somebody else, in a heat of passion or premeditated murder or whatever, without justification. It is wrong. And in fact, the Bible talks about the value of human life. And right after the flood, when Noah got off the ark, one of the first things that the Lord did was institute human government, and he instituted the death penalty. And a lot of people don't realize this. It is found in Genesis chapter 9. And let me read Genesis chapter 9, verses 5 and 6. And for your lifeblood, that is a human dying, and for your lifeblood, I will require a reckoning. From every beast, I will require it, and from man. So from any beast. So if an animal takes the life of a human, that beast is to die. So if a grizzly bear attacks a human, that grizzly bear is to die. That's what God said. It also says, I will require it from man. From his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image. So the reason why he instituted capital punishment is because man is made in the image of God. And so what God is saying here, human life is so valuable that if you unjustly take the life of another person, your life is required. Yes. So that does not mean that every murder or every, voluntary manslaughter, it necessarily has to be capital punishment. Mm-hmm. That's up for judges to decide and stuff. But when they do say it's capital punishment, it is not wrong. You cannot say it's not biblical. It is biblical. That God has given that authority to the state. But it's not for you and I to take that, Gary.
That's right. Yep.
If heaven forbid, if somebody was to kill one of your daughters or one of your sons, you and I can't go out there and do vigilante justice. That is not right to do.
Exactly. Yep.
The right thing to do is to get him arrested, go to court and let the courts take care of it. Yep. So that's the right thing to do. So, and Gary, oh my goodness, we are out of time already.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention. I was just enjoying.
I looked down and I said, oh my goodness, look at the clock. Hey, but this was a killer of a show.
It sure was.
Hey, thanks for listening in. If you have a topic or question you want to address on Cop Talk, send me an email. You can email suggestions, questions, comments, or complaints to coptalk@therev.fm. That's coptalk@therev.fm. @therev.fm. Thought from the good book today. From his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Hey, thanks for joining and helping to make the thin blue line a strong blue line.
Cop Talk is presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and sponsored by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Questions and comments are always welcome by email to coptalk@therev.fm. Listen, follow, leave a review, and share this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. And visit thestrongblueline.org to learn how you can be a supporter. Cop Talk is a Rev FM production, produced and edited by Gary Austin. Thank you for joining us on Cop Talk.